Hello everyone, welcome back to Java Kickstart. And so in episode 5 we're going to discuss methods, and there's a lot to methods, and so we might take a little bit of time with this one, but it will certainly be useful. Our last lesson we discussed loops, and so we discussed how the while and the for loop, although there are a little bit more such as the do while and stuff like that, these are the two most common ones, and again we're trying to keep it as basic as possible. This is just Java Kickstart, just for the basics. We'll have a series to come soon that will be discussing the more complex aspects of Java. And so let's make a new class called methods. And so in methods, again, we want to introduce the main method as usual. And like every time we make a video, I say, let's introduce the main method into our code. So main method, okay? So what a method is just, pretty much just something that runs code or does something for you, okay? And so that's what the main method does, is when I hit this start button here, okay, it will look for the main method, it will call it, and it will run whatever is inside of it, okay? So in that case, you're probably asking, can I do the same? Yes, you can. And so if I go public static void print array, actually let's just go print string. And then let's take an input string s, okay. We can do a system.out.print s, okay? And so instead of having system.out.print hello world, I can just go print string hello world. And in both cases, I have both of them being printed, because what happens is the code sees that there's a method, okay? It calls that method and it gives it a parameter, okay? And this parameter, I can use whatever I want with it, right? Like I can go s plus an exclamation mark, okay? And so instead of just hello world, I have hello world, right? And these types of methods you can use for a lot of things, okay? Now this is a method, okay? And if I want to just do this, I could, okay? But what if instead of having like all of this like conditional statements and all of these like sum, multiply, divide, subtract, all of that stuff, we can make that much easier, a lot easier, if we go public int add, and then we have add, and then it'll return a plus b. But you'll notice if I keep this away, it will give me an error. I can declare methods that return a value, and they have to return a value. And that's what this one does here, is it'll return an integer of the sum of a and b. So if I go, for example, let's do this. And let's get rid of that as well. Okay, so let's go add. So let's go int I equals 2, int b equals, let's go j equals 3. I can go int, let's go c equals add 2, 3. Okay, but the thing is, you can't exactly, it's a non-static method, and so you can't reference it in a static context. So what static means is it kind of just separates it from the rest of the code. So for the most part, just it's very difficult to explain really what the static does, and it's definitely not in the scope of Java Kickstart for now. And so honestly, I'm just going to tell you, follow what your IDE says. If it tells you to put static, put static. It tells you to remove static, remove static. So I'm not going to go too much in depth about that, because it is it's complicated and there's a lot to it. And then we can do let's make another method that is instead print int, and then we can go int s and then we'll get rid of this. And then there we go. We'll just go print int, and then we'll put C. And so my method does exactly that, is it will call this method, okay, give me a value, it gives it the value, which is 5. And then this print int, we give it a value and it does whatever it wants here. Now, you may be asking, can I just leave it at that? At this? You could, but it doesn't do anything, right? It's not like you're assigning any value because it's just going to return an integer. But I could do this. And that makes it a lot easier instead of having a separate value. And yes, you can do that as well. I'm going to, try and make things a little bit more complicated. If I go public static int add, you're probably asking, well, aren't there two things called int? And I can't name two values, make two separate values with the same name. How is the compiler going to know the difference? Well, it's because there's a difference in the parameters, right? If I put 1 there, 1 there, there's only this one that can accept such parameters. And this is what we call method overloading, and that you have more than one method with the same name but different parameters. And then when I do that, it won't run this one. It will run that one. It won't run this one. It will run that one. But what if, for example, let's just say I do -1, okay? It should give me a value of 4 because it's running this one, not this one, okay? And so this is, the scope of what I want to cover about methods, especially in just Java Kickstart. And like I said, there are series to come that are going to be much more complex than this. And methods are essential. Like they make life pretty much very easy. And let's go back to loops, for example. You can put this into a method, for example, if you really want, with the parameters. And so yeah, methods are very useful. You're using a method all the time. You probably didn't even notice it. And so you're doing the same thing here. You have the ones that return values. You have the ones that just do stuff, with the differences between having void and like an actual data type. And, for these ones, it could go for anything. Like if I want to have a Boolean, but obviously the return statement has to be a Boolean, a double, a float, I can do whatever, but it just has to return that value. And so that's it for episode 5 of the series about methods. And so I hope to see you in the next one.